Shalom and good evening. I am Mayan Hessen, and this is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. In today's top stories, Israel deepens its operational achievements in the Gaza Strip, including in the border town of Rafah. The Biden administration rejects the notion of sanctioning the International Criminal Court over the prosecutor's breach of the ICC's mandate. U.S. representatives pledged to work for bipartisan support to hold the ICC and ICJ accountable. The IDF is successfully advancing in the Gazan border town of Rafah, striking the last functioning Hamas brigade in a concise and deliberate operation. During a televised briefing to the press, IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari announced that the IDF forces have now achieved full control of the Philadelphia corridor, which is the enclave's borderline with Egypt, from which Hamas maintains its operational lifeline.
In recent days, IDF troops have achieved operational control over the Philadelphia corridor on the border between Egypt and Rafah. The Philadelphia corridor served as Hamas' lifeline through which Hamas regularly smuggled weapons into the Gaza Strip. This achievement is the result of an operation led by the 162nd Division, which has been fighting in the Rafah area in recent weeks. Our troops have located dozens of launchers along the corridor, loaded and ready to fire rockets, and launch pits from which Hamas fired rockets and mortars into Israeli territory. Hamas exploited the Philadelphia corridor, using it to build this infrastructure just dozens of meters from the border with Egypt so that we would not strike them. This infrastructure was located between 10 and 40 meters from the border, specifically so that Israel would not strike near the fence with Egypt. I remind you that in recent weeks, Hamas has fired about 70 rockets and mortars from the Rafah area.
Admiral Hagari went on to note the location of some 20 tunnels, some of which cross from the Gaza Strip into Egypt, in addition to other findings including significant weapon caches.
So far, our troops have located about 20 tunnels in the Philadelphia corridor area. We are investigating these tunnels and neutralizing them. In parallel, the troops continue to conduct operations. These operations are carried out based on intelligence information regarding specific locations in the area. In recent weeks, our troops uncovered an extensive underground terrorist infrastructure in eastern Rafah, which was 1.5 kilometers long. The entrance shaft to the infrastructure was located about 100 meters from the Rafah crossing. The route branched into several subroutes and was used by Hamas terrorists for movement, transferring weapons, and initiating terrorist attacks. Inside the route, we found large quantities of weapons, including anti-tank missiles, AK-47s, explosives, and grenades. The 401st Brigade Combat Team operated in the route and destroyed it.
As the IDF expands its achievements, Admiral Hagari informed of the military chiefs of General Staff, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi's visit with troops in Rafah, praising their determination and professionalism.
The chief of the General Staff visited the soldiers in Rafah today and was impressed by the way they fight with determination and professionalism. He talked with them, referred to the numerous operational achievements that are leading to dismantling Hamas, and emphasized creating the conditions for the return of the hostages. We will continue to exert all efforts to create the conditions to bring all 125 hostages home. We do not forget them for a moment. Look, we are here for several reasons. One, this is the last division left with all full capabilities, therefore we want to disband the Rafah division. But we will deepen the achievements and we will bring Hamas to very low places. This requires a great deal of professionalism, it requires a great deal of determination, it requires a great deal of values. Knowing that dismantling Hamas completely is a national task of the State of Israel. I am very, very impressed. I leave here with the feeling that there is a very professional, high-quality work here. There is learning here. This is a very important thing. You are making progress. There are very high achievements here.
Turning to Washington, where the U.S. National Security Council's Coordinator for Strategic Communications, retired Rear Admiral John Kirby, played down the scope in which the IDF operates in the Gazan border town of Rafah.
Everything we're seeing, and we can't see everything, but everything that we can see, tells us that they are not moving in a major ground operation in population centers in the center of Rafah.
While evidently alluding to a plausible change in policy in the future, Admiral Kirby acknowledged that the scale in which the IDF currently operates in the town of Rafah is acceptable to the Biden administration.
And just want to make this very clear between what's happened on Sunday, what's happened in terms of the ongoing ground operations since. There's nothing that you have seen thus far that would prompt a U.S. withdrawal of more military assistance.
I believe that's what I've been saying here.
Okay.
Nevertheless, Admiral Kirby emphasized that Washington continues to vehemently object to a wide-scale military operation in Rafah. Moreover, despite the fact that over 1 million Palestinian civilians left Rafah to designated humanitarian zones, U.S. leadership is evidently not content with Jerusalem's operational plans.
We still don't believe that a major ground operation in Rafah is warranted. We still don't want to see the Israelis, as we say, smash into Rafah with large units over large pieces of territory. We still believe that, and we haven't seen that at this point. But we're going to be watching this, of course, very, very closely. There's still hundreds of thousands that are still in Rafah, that are still in danger, and we still have not seen a plan to take care of their safety and security, which is why nothing's changed about our view that we don't want to see a major ground operation in Rafah that puts those people at greater risk.
It is important to note that while merely a few days ago, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken pledged that he would be willing to work with Congress on sanctioning the International Criminal Court in The Hague over the prosecutor's breach of the court's mandate, Admiral Kirby retracted the notion, stressing that while it does not believe the ICC has jurisdiction over Israel, the Biden administration will not support sanctions.
No, we don't believe that sanctions against the ICC is the right approach here. No. I mean, look, we obviously don't believe the ICC has jurisdiction. We certainly don't support these arrest warrants. We've said that before. We don't believe, though, that sanctioning the ICC is the answer.
The shift in Washington's position on the matter of sanctions has seemingly caught Israel by surprise, as stated by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu while hosting former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley.
Very, very pleased to welcome Nikki Haley again in Israel. You've been a tremendous supporter of our efforts and our struggle at all times, and especially in trying times like these. I think you have championed the one and simple thing that is absolutely essential, which is an Israeli victory. Now, there are some people who don't believe in an Israeli victory. They don't believe that we can achieve all our war aims, releasing all the hostages, defeating Hamas, and of course establishing an arrangement that Gaza will no longer be a threat to Israel. Well, we believe it, and we'll continue to do it, and we will achieve it. There are other people, like the prosecutor in The Hague, that seeks to handcuff us. And handcuffing us is handcuffing you too, because all democratic societies would be imperiled if the right to attack, to take out these terrorists who use civilians as a human shield is not challenged. All democracies are in peril. So I thank you, and 80% of the American people who support Israel. It's a very broad consensus. And I was glad to see that there was also bipartisan support for putting sanctions on this scandalous ICC decision. And that's why I was, frankly, surprised and disappointed by what seems to be the American administration's backing off from this important decision. Well, I hope that doesn't happen, because I think it's important to send a message to the ICC that free societies will retain the right and the ability to defend themselves.
Ambassador Haley responded by pledging her unwavering support for Israel, vowing to promote the enactment of sanctions against the ICC. Correspondingly, during a meeting with visiting U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, the ranking American lawmaker committed that he would work to hold the ICC accountable.
This was one of the most challenging times for the State of Israel since its founding. There are so many problems and challenges to overcome, but one of the problems you never have to worry about is America. I promise you that we will do all we can, Mr. Prime Minister, to hold the ICC account for this outrage against the people of Israel. A slap in the face to your judiciary. To International Court of Justice, you're a joke. The head judge of the ICJ is a raving anti-Semite.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would also like to thank all of you who support TV7 Israel, as it allows us to produce our daily news productions, which are exclusively donation-based. Separately, I would like to encourage you to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I am Ayan Hessen, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom, and we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.